I've got a great analogy that I was explaining the other day now. It comes back to building houses the same way you build a website. When you build a house, okay, most people would be very comfortable knowing that one person doesn't build a house, right? One person doesn't architect the plans. That's an architect. One person doesn't pour the concrete. That's a concreter, right? One person isn't building the trusses and the roof, right? You have specialists that build houses in every different facet of building a house. And it requires a team to do that. It requires the concreter to work with the plumber, to work with the carpenter, to work with the person that puts the roof on, to work with the person that does the gyprocking. Then you've got the painter, right? And then you have the interior designer. So the same way when you build a website, there are multiple different people that need to work on a website project. You have the designer, which is like your interior designer for your house. They have a completely different brain. Someone who is a carpenter who is putting nails in trusses doesn't think about the aesthetically pleasing way that you design certain furniture around other furniture and how that all works together. Completely different brains.
That's the programmer, right?
So you have a programmer, and your programmer or your web developer, the person that does the coding, that is like your carpenter, the person that builds the structure behind your website. They have a completely different brain. They think in a completely different language. They don't even write in English. They write in code, which is a language. And language, like all languages in the world, you can be okay at language, or you can be proficient in language, or you can be a linguist. And there is a difference between getting a coder who just barely knows how code is written. You got people that generally know how code is written, and they've been working with code for maybe 4 or 5 years. And then you've got like a guy that builds our websites that has been coding websites for 15 years, that has only spoken one particular type of coding language his whole life, that can get a job done the right way the first time. And that's a linguist, that's someone who's very proficient in a particular language. And it's the same thing when you hire a web developer. They have to be very proficient in a particular coding language, because there are many, many coding languages. You don't want a coder that's half decent at all the languages. That's not going to get you a good result. You want someone that's very, very good at one particular language, and it's the language that you're going to code that website in, develop that website in.
That is such a good point, Jackson. I really hope that people understand what you've just said and how you said it.
So that's your carpenter.
Yeah.
And now the
carpenter doesn't do the sparky work.
Right. But how does the carpenter build a house?
From the ground up.
They use a plan, right? They get given the plan. They get given the strategy that is given to them by the designer. The designer, the architect that designed the house, needs to give the developer a plan. That's your designer when it comes to building a website. And that's why it's the first step to building a website. You need to design that website, and it can't have design flaws. You can't just build a house that looks like half a moon. It doesn't make engineering sense.
Well, the Death Star looked like half a moon.
But
then exploded.
You can't, exactly. You can't design something that's not going to, be engineered, like that doesn't have an element of engineering. So you have a designer that needs to have a very creative brain, but also a brain that understands the developer's brain, that goes, you know what, for us to design this website this way, we're going to need a developer that's top tier that can pull this design off, right? So you have two very different types of brains, two very different types of people that need to work on a website. Now that's your designer, now that's your developer. But SEO is another brain as well. SEO is a marketing brain.
That's the real estate agent.
Which is your real estate agent. which is somebody that's you could be a real estate agent, or it could be your property manager. It's got to be someone that manages the property, that maintains the property. Your carpenter is not going to do that.
He's not going to bring people to look at it. He's not going to. Yeah.
You need to maintain the property, and that's your SEO specialist.
So what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So many people, and you no doubt get this because I get this a lot in my industry.
Yeah.
I'll just build my own website through Wix.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a different kettle of fish. So Wix is not, website. Wix is a template builder, and it's a really good service for people that are running, say, a bricks and mortar business that doesn't necessarily need a big online presence. If you're just running like a location-based bricks and mortar shop, a Wix website will do. You just need a phone number, you need some basic information, it needs to be quite cheap. If you're running an online business, well, you're in a different space right now. For example, you have a shop. If you're a bricks and mortar business, how much do you spend on that shop, right?
$1,000 a square meter, maybe. Depends on where you are.
Easily, right?
That's just a rent, right?
But what would you buy? You say you're going to open a brand new franchise, you're going to open a brand new bricks and mortar shop or something like that, right? Which is the way business is always run before the internet.
So to open a factory, it's a minimum $250,000.
$250,000, let's just use that.
That's for a factory. That's not even a retail, nicely fitted out retail space.
Yeah, so what's a nicely fitted retail space?
I'd guess $500,000.
$500,000.
You're going to spend over $150,000 on shop fit, aren't you?
Okay,
yeah.
Let's just take that number. Say you have $500,000. That is your expectation. Before you even go into a bricks and mortar store, that is your absolute expectation of what it's going to cost you to set up that bricks and mortar shop. Why?
Why would you do that?
But if that's the expectation, that's the benchmark, why do people go into online businesses thinking that you can build a website for $20 or even $5,000 for that matter?
How stupid is that?
It's ridiculous. Like, this is what I deal with all the day.
Complete disconnect from reality. It's like, that's why I brought the Wix thing up. I've got shopkeepers who want to play in the online game.
Yeah.
I'm talking florists now in the flower industry. And they don't want to spend money. They are sick of paying 30% transaction fees off every sale. And then they don't want to spend $10,000 minimum. You can't do a website under $10,000. That's decent. They don't want to spend that to actually get online properly. There's a disconnect of reality, right?
These numbers are so far apart. It's like, if your online presence is your online shop, why, if that's going to be seen as well by thousands of times more people.
It's the ultimate food truck.
Right.
You're not locked into a location, right?
Yeah. Why?
I always wanted a pizza truck so I could just move around, follow the festivals, not locked into geographic location.
Yeah, well, an online store is that. You can go to any country you want.
It's your ticket to
basically.
travel. Your ticket to travel.
You can show people what you do online. But the thing that amazes me is people, say you are a web expert and you know like some of the things of like how to save money on websites. Like how to build an affordable website, you know how to build it the right way the first time, and you can get at it for relatively cheap. That's all cool, but for the vast majority of people, it's sort of like, why are you on your high horse thinking that you somehow are entitled to starting an online business for under $5,000 by having a $20 website like every other human being that can access the same, technology as you, right? Why are you entitled to running a business for under $5,000 online? But when it comes to running a real bricks and mortar shop, the expectation is already $500,000. Like, why would you invest so much into the interior design and the refurbishment and everything that goes into building a really world-class, facing physical shop? Why don't you take that same mindset into building a world-class online shop, right? Or online website?
It's like when email came out. Everyone in the start were trying to use Hotmail. Francie's Flowers at hotmail.com.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, or Nicki's Flowers at Gmail. I will not do business with people that have a Hotmail or Gmail account as their main business account. Why? Because it's not credible.
Yeah, and it costs $5 a month to have your domain name as your email.
Dude, right? Why give people a reason not to do business with you? So you're exactly right. Why would you bootstrap your face? And that's exactly what people do. Even florists. I can't afford it. Really? You're spending $5,000 a year on Yellow Pages, which, hello, they've only just started upping their game in the online space. But why would you, wouldn't blink there, but you're going to blink hard about trying to pay money for a website that will actually return you money. Now, floristry is good because it's a commodity product, right? So some of your listeners will be commodity based. And you go, if you're going to spend so little in trying to drive, think of it the other way. If you're affiliate marketing and you're paying, what would you pay for an affiliate market on a product? What would you actually pay as a percentage to an affiliate marketer on product-based stuff? 25, 30%?
Yeah.
It's 50 to 70 on service,
At
right?
scale.
At scale.
This is a company that's already at scale.
So do the numbers in reverse. It's a pittance to pay $10,000 for an awesome website that you control, you build it, and you build it once.
And now, we'll now add this stat into your decision making. 92% of consumers make their purchasing decisions online before they enter a legitimate shop, bricks and mortar shop. 92%.
Drops Mike, walks off.
Drop Mike.
But no, you go and build your Wix website for $5, and that's really good spending of money. Like,
9 out of 10 people now already know what they're going to buy before they walk in your shop.
Yeah.
Because they've already seen it online, they've been reminded online, something has told them to do it online, and now they've made the decision, okay, now I'm going to go to the florist, but what one? What florist am I going to go to? Like, when it comes to customer loyalty, it's probably location loyalty. Where is this florist? But if they're online and they realize they need some flowers and they can get it delivered that day or the next day, what are they going to choose? They're going to choose the efficient option. And this is how people are wired to buy things now. And when 9 out of 10 people are looking at your online store before they're looking at your physical store, why are you investing 100x less in that online image, that online brand, than what you do with your physical brand?
What are you going to spend on a car repayment over a year for a very basic work car, whether it's a car to get you to appointments, whether you're a tradie, whatever?
What?
Like $8 grand minimum a year on a car repayment? Minimum, no insurance, no running costs. $8 grand minimum just on a car.
It depends. If you lease it or what? Like, you mean lease it?
No, just a HP repayment. I reckon it's about $8 grand minimum, right? I pay about 12 grand.
Cars for like,
about 12 grand.
That's right.
Okay, so $8 grand for a car. So you go, right, what about your mobile phone? I'm on $200 a month because I'm the top package I can ring overseas. Maybe you get away with it for $100 a month.
Hang on a minute, $200 a month?
Yeah. What?
To ring overseas?
No, I've got the $200 plan from Telstra, which means I can ring anyone anywhere in the world.
Is that plus a phone?
I can data travel anywhere in the world. I can replace my phone every 12 months.
All right, that makes sense.
So I'm just saying, but when you add on what you're actually spending in businesses, now, okay, granted, my business is turning over money, so it's a different story when you're a startup, but I would argue, I'm doing this for a point, even if you're a startup, you would probably have a car repayment. You would probably have even a broadband internet repayment of maybe $70 a month, depending on your plan. You're already spending money on what you deem as absolute necessity to do your business. Website construction and implementation has to be part of that core thinking.
Yeah.
So that's not part of the hierarchy infrastructure that I was talking about with, staff and with rental, and because that's your business. It's your marketing, it's your brand, it's everything. And I'm being very general here, but I really want to try and smash this point home for people listening. Do not skimp on your face. Like, I'm bewildered. I'm so bewildered. I see this so much in my industry. And on one hand, people are whinging about, we're being dominated by the big players and we can't compete. Yeah, no shit. Have you seen your website? Have you got a strategy for your social media? Do you even do SEO, bro? And it's not their fault because they don't know any better. But the people listening to your podcast, they know better because they're listening to you.
Yeah.
So but they've got, where the disconnect is? You've got to give yourself permission. Look at the buyer's remorse I had when I signed up to your packages. I know what you do. It's incredible value. I trust you. We all go through those natural cycles of, you buy, then you get the buyer's remorse. We all go through that thing. They have to give themselves permission. It's one of the key competencies. It's the starting block. It's not a wannabe, when I get successful, then I'll spend money on it. Have a look at me. $7 million business. Look at how cruddy our website is, right?
Yeah.
Complete redesign. We're putting a new face on it.
Yeah.
spending 10 grand on it. Now you might go, oh, that's easy because you've got income. No, trust me, I've got operating costs as well, wages over $1 million a year. So it's like, let's do the right things in the right order. That's the first thing he said to me. This is bullshit. Like, what are you doing? It's a core, I'm saying competency. It's the starting point for any business. So I know I'm labouring this point, but listeners, please allow yourself to spend the money where it's needed. This is the money. If you fail, it's because you failed to plan properly and you didn't do your website correctly to begin with.
Now, bring that back all the way to the start, which is our first point, which you build something with not a lot of money the first time. That is in reference to a new idea, not a proven business model or a proven product that already works. So in the context of, say...
You're talking about product development, aren't you?
Yeah, like in the context of saying, like, you're a florist. Like, we already know the business model around selling flowers. Mm-hmm. That's not new. Mm-hmm. When we say, like, you can build a brand new idea for under 10 grand, we're talking about brand new ideas. Like, for example, an Instagram marketing course that has never existed before. Like, I'm very convinced that I'm the first person that had an Instagram marketing course over 4 years ago now, the first version of it, right? But that was something that had never been done before. If you looked up Instagram marketing online, there's no such thing.
Did I know what Instagram was when I met you?
No.
That's only 2 years ago.
Right, no, exactly. So it's like, you know, that's a different kettle of fish. When you know that the product already works, the business model already works, well, then it's like, well, how are you better than all the competitors? And you have to be the faster, better, or cheaper. Those are the three ways that you can differentiate yourself in business. Faster, better, or cheaper. Or a combination of two or three of them, all three.
I've got a different way of saying it. It's going to be more interesting. And how do you be more interesting? Exactly what you just said.
Yeah, well, yeah. From branding point of view, you have to be more interesting. But that's where people just take this huge... It just amazes me when everyone wants to build like this Wix website, and they're like, well, why is it not ranking high for SEO? It's because your website is built inside a template. Like, there is, by default, in that word, a template is restricted. Like, there's only so much you can do, right? And if everybody else is using a Wix website, well, guess what level playing field you're on? Everybody else has got the same thing as you. So, very hard to rank a site high like that. But it serves a very good purpose for a lot of businesses, a Wix website or a cheap website. You know, I think it's a good way to just start your version 1. Build a Wix website if you want to do your version 1, but don't think that that's your actual website.
Wix or Shopify? Where are you going to start? What would you suggest?
Shopify is an e-commerce template. So if you're selling online products, you would sign up to Shopify, because inside Shopify, it's a much more sophisticated platform when it comes to, you know, merchant facilities and payment integrations and building like the checkout and the cart and all those sort of things. Much simpler on Shopify if you're selling e-commerce. Wix is just a generic template builder. Like you could build any type of website on Wix. Then you can obviously add plugins into it to sell e-commerce.
Oh, but it sounds horrible.
If you're specifically building e-commerce, Shopify is fantastic.
So that's your starting block, Shopify. Shopify is a bit of fun, actually. I had a player on the t-shirt store on Shopify just because I wanted to nerd out on it.
Yeah.
I got 2 sales. It's been there for 3 years. Because again, don't just build something expecting everyone to flock to it, right?
No.
But Shopify, okay. So Shopify, if you're product-based and you're going to be e-com, that's good. Don't start with Wix. Wix is like this glorified online flyer business card.
Well, Wix is the same as... Yeah, there's a few of them.
There's more? Really?
Yeah, Weebly, Squarespace, Wix.
But you find that for the weekend market people, the arts and crafts people, the yoga, Zen, like I want to sell like wooden bookmarks. They're all going to be on Weebly, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, you know, you've got heaps of different template builders. I mean, there's probably thousands of them now.
I was talking to an artist yesterday and they were saying the same thing. I've got this Blue Thumb website, no sales coming through. What should I change? What should I do differently? Number 1, get off Blue Thumb. Because we're talking about different marketing strategies, but it's like it's interesting how we don't want to not have something, so we think having something is better than not having something.
Yeah.
But is having something better than not having something, or is having the wrong something just as bad as not having something? What's your opinion on that?
There's this
It's a big question.
I'll give you a good answer. In marketing and advertising online, there's this concept where if you have a broken website, for example, what you have just done is the advertising for your competition. So say you're running any type of ad, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, paying physical money to drive traffic to a website. Well, if they get driven to your website's broken and they bounce, well, you just gave the customer or the consumer the idea to buy that type of product. They can't through you because your website loads in 7 or 8 seconds and it's slow and they bounce, or it's broken, there's broken links, or whatever's broken is broken. It's not a converting website. So if you don't have a converting website, you just spent money on advertising for your competition because your competition just made that sale because their website's converting, their website's working.
Because yours didn't. I had one of those, by the way.
Yeah.
Horrible. I think it was a 12-second page load at the worst case.
Yeah.
Yeah. The new website that we've just done together, Jackson does not build websites. But as a favour, I strong-armed him.
Yeah.
And I tapped into some resources. Thank you for that, by the way. Under 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Even you were blown away by this.
It was dope.
Under 2 second page load speed.
1.4 seconds.
I remember last call together, Jackson said, you're not going to believe this. Page load is under 2 seconds. And if you're not a nerd, you wouldn't get it. But we're both sitting there, oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, I should know this stat off the top of my head, but it's like every second your page loads slower, you lose a percentage of traffic. It's like, I think it's like 10 or 15% of your traffic is lost every second after 3 seconds. So
that makes sense because I'll wait for about 2 seconds if I'm looking something on my iPhone. Yeah. And if that sucker ain't coming through now, it could be internet connection that's the problem, right? Yeah. But if that sucker doesn't load, I just cancel and go again.
Yeah. A few other things on SEO too, like basic stuff. If your website doesn't have an SSL certificate, so it's secured, Google deranks you, doesn't show it to people. If you have a slow page load speed, Google deranks you. They don't want to show it to their users because Google's in the business of giving their users the best experience possible, giving them exactly what they want as quickly as they can get it.
As much money as they want.
Of course they are. But the way they make the most money possible is by doing this.
Yes, I agree.
Right? So
sorry, I'll put cynical back.
They are all about giving their users the best experience, and that is the fastest experience, the quickest experience to getting to the question that they're asking. And so when you have these things, another one I was going to add there is mobile optimization. Google will severely prioritize websites that are really mobile optimized and load very quick on a mobile device because I think over 72% of users are now mobile users in the world on the internet. Something up that high, and we're getting further and further away from laptops and desktops. Most people are now on tablets or phones. That is the majority. So if your website's not optimized for mobile, you're already at the bottom of Google because Google isn't showing your website to anyone that's on a mobile device because it's not optimized for a mobile device. These are just very simple, not simple necessarily, things to keep in mind, but things you have to keep in mind when you build your website. Is your developer, right? Talking about the carpenter, going back to that, is your developer proficient in optimizing a website for mobile, right? That has got to be a very strong skill set, if not the strongest skill set that they have, because that is where most users are looking at your website on a phone. So there's a couple things there to keep in mind.
Can I just break this down just to cover a very basic base here? So it's about exactly what Jackson said about the developer going onto the mobile device, but some people may not recognize or realize that optimization, the level of degree that the developer has to know is, it's fine that it's a mobile device, but what mobile device is it? Now, when you look at iPhones, I think there are 4 screen sizes in the iPhone family, 4 or 5. Then you go to Samsung. Then you go to whatever the third one is. Maybe Oppo might be coming in there. I'm not sure. Each screen size difference is a different development process. Each phone brand is a different process. Each browser, whether it's iOS, Mozilla, that's Firefox, Chrome. So I'm just saying, like, because you talk about, because you know it backwards. I'm just saying, to label the point. So these are key questions you need to ask if you're starting to look at developers. It's fine for them to go, yes, it's mobile optimized, great. But what platforms do you optimize to, and will it cover all of those things?
Yeah, because
my mind blew when I found that out. I didn't know that for many years until just recently I went, what? You've got to develop to each individual browser, to each individual screens. I thought there was some magic voodoo where you just, depending on the phone, it just popped up like within the glass frame size. It's got to be coded to that exact thing. So if I happen to be an Apple 10, I get the Apple 10 experience.
Yeah. And as an example, like if you want to go deep into it, it's like, what happens if you upload like a big high resolution photo to a desktop that looks really good, right?
Let's do this all the time.
And then how does that photo actually adjust itself and optimize itself for a mobile phone? Because they're two completely different dimensions. One's portrait, one's landscape.
Yeah.
You know, is that photo big enough to read, you know, on a mobile device? If you're not thinking about stuff like that, you're building a website that literally looks good on your screen. And from all my experience, less than 5% of people are looking at something similar to your screen. You know, 95% of people are looking at it from a completely different angle, from a completely different viewpoint. And you don't have to rebuild the website on every single device, but you have to optimize it for every single device. You have to check it. That's what optimizing is. You have to literally check every single device on every different type of platform, Safari, Chrome, all those things, and look at it and say, you know, is this optimizing? And most of the time it's not. You have to make adjustments in every different device. And if you do that, which costs more money, well, Google rewards you for that because Google's going, great, this website actually works on everything. And so we like that because our users like that. Anyways.
It's about selling, right? So if you've got a product or service that you're selling, the great business adage is confused minds don't buy.
Mm-hmm.
So if your website doesn't optimize on the handheld that person is using, sale lost.
Yep.
As simple as that. People are always looking for a reason not to do business with you. And again, that's the same reason I never used to do business with people with Yahoo, Hotmail, Gmail accounts. In the business realm, they just were not serious enough for me to even bother with. So I think that's the level of detail you've got to be able to go into when you're looking at. So if you're just going off on your, or you should revamp your website if you haven't got what we just talked about, because it's the best money you'll ever spend, then you need to go to that level of competency, and that's the competency level you've got to get from your programmer.
Yeah.
From everyone in that building the house analogy. That's a great analogy, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's just a home run. Like, anyone can understand that.
I've never heard it before, so I'm going to coin that one.
That's yours. And can I add something to that? It's like, I imagine the Wix thing was like you giving me a concrete house building machine that can build a house for me. I've just got to operate the concrete building machine. I'll
tell you what a simple, a Wix website is like a house off the plan. It's something that it's like one of those psycho movies in America where you drive in and every house on the street's the same.
Yeah.
Same colour, same shape, same.
Yes.
It's like Cat in the Hat.
Yeah.
Great movie.
That is kind of like what a Wix website is. Is you like, yeah, you can build a house, but it has to be exactly pretty much within these types of
Am I being unfair to Wix? Because I don't know a lot about them. Like, it serves its purpose, right?
Yeah, absolutely it does.
But is it for an artist that just wants an online calling card? Like, is that the Wix website? That's it? Like, that's what I seem to get out of that.
It's just a website that's extremely limited. Like, end of story.
Not an e-com site.
No, like, you can make it into an e-commerce site.
No, but it's not an e-com site.
No, it's... Wix is a... I'll tell you what purpose Wix is serving right now. It's giving people...
a false sense of hope online because they can do it themselves.
Yeah, that's the cynical
way. So I can say that because I got no connection to it.
That's the cynical way of looking at it. The positive way of looking at it is Wix is giving people who would otherwise not have the opportunity to start a business
to start a business.
No.
And they're at least having their first version or their seventh version of a business. And sure, yeah, they might fail a few times, but they're at least Wix is probably one of those companies that is building a much bigger entrepreneur movement, which is important because the way the world is going, most people are going to have to develop an entrepreneurial mindset to either get ahead in a corporate or get ahead in any sort of company structure, which is called intrapreneurship, where you're actually an entrepreneur within a company that innovates companies, right? So some people are not good at building their own companies. Some people are very good at building and innovating companies that are already getting built, right? So
they add their own secret sauce to the structure that's already there.
Yeah,
and take it further.
Take, for example, the number 13th at Facebook. They would be an unbelievable entrepreneur, you would think, by textbook definition. But maybe they're not. Maybe they have no ability to lead, lead an organization, which is kind of what you want to do if you want to build a big business. Maybe they're extremely talented at innovation and creating new products and new processes and stuff like that. That's entrepreneurship, but within a company, which is, I think, called intrapreneurship.
Random fact, all the execs at Facebook have 24/7 private security.
Yes, I think I told you that.
Oh, do you tell me that? Mind blowing. I'm still stuck on it going, God, I'd hate to have that. Anyway.
I got a better stat. I think I told you, backing that up, which was that all the Facebook execs spend, I think, a minimum of $5 million a year on that security detail. I think Mark's is over 20 mil.
That was Zach. I'd hate to be Zach.
So, yeah, when you get to a certain level in life, all of a sudden you're paying $5 million a year for security escorts and stuff. Crazy. But
I really value the ability to walk to the shop in my tracksuit pants.
Yeah, I do too.
What price of freedom are you prepared to pay? Yeah.
I know. There is a price for being famous, and there's a price I definitely never want to pay. I never want to be famous.
We're talking about that whole, I'm bagging Wix without knowing them, which is not fair, but my favourite saying is version 1's better than version none. But I'm even challenging my own thought on this very topic, because I think you'd place a strong argument that you're actually doing more damage by giving somebody a stopgap means to think that they're successfully online. I think if it was positioned the right way to go, nobody ever highlights the limitations. They always highlight the benefits, right? So if Wix was actually really good at ABC, having an online presence, making sure that you can be found on a domain search, but that was it, but it will not help you progress your own SEO. It is not designed for optimized e-com. Isn't it interesting that if that wasn't clearly highlighted, then you've actually done a disservice to the person going into that process? Yeah, well, big statement. But I would argue, my whole journey through this year of websites and back-end dev, and we've built our own e-com platform and stuff, I would argue and go, I actually think it's better that they weren't on there, that they would actually then be forced to go to a Shopify if they were specifically e-com or... Well,
the reason I have a more positive spin on something like Wix...
Well, you know Wix, right?
Yeah, is because when I was in Israel, I sat down with the number 7 guy.
Okay, so I'm talking of complete ignorance with no knowledge of them, just spraying. So put me straight here.
So I know, it's hard because I spent 3 hours with the number 7 of Wix. So I know 3 hours of content about Wix that I'm not even allowed to talk about.
Okay.
I know their numbers. I know what percentage of their customers are free and what percentage are not, and that is a very surprising number. I know their whole business, not their whole business model, but I know how they run their business.
Yep.
One of the things that I can say about it was a really interesting. If you ever want to grow a company quick, so Wix, the year before I got there in Israel, I think they had 600 employees. And the year that I got there, which is 12 months later, they had 2,000 employees.
Wow.
That's crazy growth. That's triple, right?
More than 100 employees a month. Growth.
Yeah. And so to build that quickly, you obviously have to have an extremely talented management team and an extremely talented process of making sure the right people are in the organization. And the way they described it was, they're such a big company, but they likened it to a captain of a ship. They said a lot of people think of big corporations or big companies as there's a captain of, say, like the Titanic. There's one captain, there's a ship full of people, and there's a leader telling them which direction to go in, and it's full steam ahead. Whereas in Wix, which is a software development company, they think of themselves as an army of speedboats, and they have a team of, say, 10 people per team. So 10 people per speedboat, one captain of each speedboat, and they're all racing in the same direction forward at the same time. And so that's how they compartmentalize and separate, their way of thinking and their ideas and their teams to all be racing towards the same objective, but yet they're all running their own races and running at usually different speeds. And that's how you manage a team of 2,000 people, is you give each micro team their own leader, their own captain.
The old way, I think, it would have been, there's 2,000 people on our bus, and there's one bus driver, the CEO. Yeah. And they've just completely blown that out of the water with that. That's really clever.
Yeah. So if you ever, not that I think there's anyone listening to this that's running a 2,000 person organization.
But you can learn from that, though. You can learn from that. What did they do there? Well, you said it yourself. They broke it down into compartmentalized each division or subgroup, and then it's more agile. Because what's the death of business? Being a big oligarchy with you're lethargic, right? Yeah. That's the reason I'm still standing in my space, because I am quick. I can change on a dime if I have to.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, with Social Growth Media, I created divisions. So you have an Instagram marketing division that doesn't know anything about the SEO division. They have their own team leaders and they have their own objectives, their own services. They are almost completely different business models, just under the same roof. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think, I definitely used the concept that I learned at Wix to build my divisions, which is really helpful because I can treat those divisions almost as separate companies, almost separate cash flow statements, balance sheets, and everything else. Those are different teams with different goals and different KPIs and different everything, really. So, that was a really cool thing that I learned at Wix. There's a lot of other cool stuff I learned there too, which I wish I could talk about, but I can't.
Maybe in the future once it becomes public.
That's it. You got to be careful. Like, that was annoying because I had obviously I was in Israel, I was running this podcast, and it was the only company that said I couldn't record. And it was the best one. I was just like, come on. Like, yeah, that would have been an amazing episode or episodes because it was over 3 hours of content. But yeah, because they're a private company. No, public company.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they're a public company. Because they're a public company, I couldn't record. Because once it becomes public, you have shareholders and there's, you're very careful the dissemination of information.
If you go missing next week, I know why.
I'm pretty sure I didn't say anything. I'm sorry, Wix, if I did. Let me know.
Look, I want to touch on something before we close off here. Before, when you're talking about Google, like, we all agree Google's like the biggest internet company in the world, right? So,
Big Five.
Google is the biggest for the point that I'm making, right? Okay. Their main focus is solely on customer experience, user UX, customer experience, user experience is what we call it.
The Google search engine,
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. So why is it okay for us as entrepreneurs and business owners to think that we know better than Google and actually hodgepodge our user experience by not building websites the right way? That's what I want to leave the listeners with out of this session from me. It's like, as a business owner, have the courage to actually spend the money where you have to spend it. Don't spend the money where you don't. Like your idea of create the idea, go and sell it, which is basically split test it, market testing. And if you've got someone who's willing to hand their card over, holy shit, I've got something I can sell. That's a business. Now let's go build it. Yeah. But it's the same thing. Make sure you spend money in the right way. Website is the right thing to be spending money on.
If you're an online business, right? If you're a physical business and you don't have an online website, you're probably struggling.
I think everyone needs a website.
Well, everyone does.
Yeah.
But, to add to that, you cannot fool Google. Google is the most sophisticated piece of artificial intelligence on the planet. It reads your websites better than a human can probably read your website because it reads the entire website. It reads the code behind your website. It reads the UX, the user experience of your website as if it was a human. It clicks without you even knowing. It crawls your website. It doesn't just do it once, it does it every single day. So you can't fool it. You could, over a decade ago, it wasn't what it is today. But Google is so advanced. All of them are. Can't trick any of them. The reason we get such crazy results on Instagram is because Instagram's still a little bit early. It's not a mature platform yet. They're still adding these monumentally massive updates that are changing the entire platform. So we can still get around it. And I think we can get around Instagram's algorithm and growth hack results for another couple years, but that's the window of opportunity probably left on that. And there will come a time where maybe we can't do it anymore. The same way you can't do the same SEO strategies that we did on Google 15 years ago. It just don't work. 15 years ago, you know how simple it was? You literally just went to the footer of your page and just wrote the keyword you wanted to rank for as many times as possible, thousands of times if you wanted to, made the font size 1, copy and paste it into the footer, and then make the font the same color as the background. No one would even know. And bang, you're ranked number 1 on Alta Vista or
I'm sitting here thinking, that's genius.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. Google figured that one out, right? I mean, without getting into SEO strategy, which is a whole thing.
That's so boring.
You can't trick Google. Just keep that in mind.